there was another friend of ours, Banwa Aderugbe,
right.
who I didn't know where she lived, but when I came to visit, or I tracked down their house just based on speaking to people, as in literally, someone would say, well, they're roughly that way. I'll get to that town, I'll ask for their family, and then they'll tell me further down that road. Eventually, I got to their house, but she wasn't there at the time. So I said hello to the family, and then I was off to Ife. So you just had to do what you had to do.
Right, yeah. And okay, so Bawa and myself lived on kind of like on the outskirts of Owo. So it's kind of maybe easier to trace the house because the house is probably standing alone in the middle of kind of like nowhere. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. But hers was on the other side of
on the other side. Yeah.
Right. You have to go through Central to get to
Yes. So it probably wouldn't seem that way to you because you didn't live in Owo.
Yeah. Right, so I mean, for me, obviously I knew where your house was. To get to Bama's house, I had to go through Central, and then when we finished with the family, when we said hi, on our way out, we took the old route from. It wasn't Akure, but from the main road on the express.
It's called is it Ikpeme or something like that. But it's the old route that goes instead of cutting through the Polytechnic.
Correct.
Go all the way. Yeah, that's the whole route. Yeah,
so
that old route goes all the way actually through to Akure through
other towns.
Yes.
So I mean, I think obviously we didn't spend enough time in our town when you were in school.
Yes.
But you kind of knew enough to be able to get around if you had to.
Right. But that time too. I mean, you're talking about when we were 16 years old, right?
Yeah.
I think I turned 17 that year in November. So I was born in November 79. I think majority of my classmates, a lot of them were born in 1980, right? So that year we were so young that we didn't have much going on in terms of life issues that we had so much time in our hands that we were also open. We were, inquisitive, right? We would ask if we need to trace somebody's house in the whole city. We can do that.
You could.
So that's crazy, man. Yeah. So definitely when you showed up, Daddy was extremely excited because it had been a long, probably 2-3 months. Because again, between June and August, right? And think about it like this. It's not like we're going back to school in September, right? So it's like this journey we were on, that was it, right?
This was it, yeah.
And I ended up coming back to school 2 weeks later because I had a subject, technical drawing, that I was doing. Yeah, that's so true. I ended up having to be back there with two other students, Deji and forgot his name now. His name skipped my mind. He's in the group as well. I ended up having to come back, and it was the weirdest feeling having to put that school uniform back on. Just for how long that test was, like 2 hours or 3 hours.
Gosh.
But yes, we're talking about 1996, just if you are wondering. So
I think that trip would have been to collect some documentation from the principal and the office, because by then we were set on leaving Nigeria. So I needed some documents from them.
Some kind of testimony or something.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so so I ended up for me, that little 2 months for you, 2 weeks, was about 2 years for me. I ended up going to a computer college in Akure for a while, for some few months. I ended up, what else did I do? Did a few things. I knew I was going to travel. It was an issue of accommodation because I was born here in the United States. But anyway, let's get back. So that's how we left Nigeria, and we left everybody. We have a lot of people overseas now. I seen
true.
Since then, Yeah. So your book. A couple of things. I'm going to read something at you, right? I'm going to read some things at you, and I want to pick one good story, the one that jumps at you. And then I want you to tell us, okay? All right? These things made me laugh, basically, right? It made me buhaha, even though I was reading by myself, right? Right? So, exchanging towels versus Werekwe.
Yeah.
Bikes and Senior Roberts, okay?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's okay to say Ibukun Adebayo. It's one of my friends. One of our friends, right? Roasted termites. Did you mean esusu by that?
Yeah.
Oh my! You didn't know about Esusu? Oh my God! All right. Anyway, our dialect.
Or dialect, something else.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna read through some of this, but any one of that you want to expand on, I want you to expand on. For me, our dialect is still the same way it feels to you. Probably 50-50 feels like that to me, because we moved to Owo in '92. I'm actually an Akure boy. So I went to Owo High School GSS 2 and 3. I actually went to Aquinas College GSS 1. So you can imagine. So I have maybe 50-50, but since '92, obviously I went to church, lived life, and stuff like that. So I'm probably better hearing or dialect than you. But I still couldn't speak it. I could make me mess around with it. But I speak Akure, in my opinion, fluently, the Akure dialect. So I'm not sure. Do you speak Ife dialect fluently?
So, I mean, this is one of the strangest things for someone that grew up on campus in Ife. The people on campus in Ife, they, as I say in the book, their Yoruba is like what the English call received pronunciation, which is like the BBC English. So it doesn't have any dialect. It's pure straight Yoruba that they will teach you in class. So even though you may not have done enough Yoruba, you more likely will be able to write and speak well because you had no influences. Even if your parents were from any other dialect, because you're on that campus.
You were in that bubble. You were
correct. The bubble stripped out. It stripped out all the other dialectal forms, so you came out with a pure, simple Yoruba. So, my parents are from Malaysia and Ibadan. So my mom, the Ibadan dialect will be called Oyo dialect, right?
Yes.
But and those are the guys that say instead of CH they say sh, like shaking. Yeah.
And vice versa. Instead of them to say sh, they say the other way around.
So with some education that gets corrected. But my dad is a gesture. So they instead of saying things like issue, which is yam, they'll say ushu.
Isu.
Oh, so okay. Yes. As opposed to eyes,
Yes.
But even though we could hear this in the house, we ended up speaking the the Yoruba language that didn't have these forms. So it was purer.
So it's the one you picked up in school because you spent probably most time in school.
Correct.
And then around the campus, which is a lot of grown young adults, and this bubble of
it was the dominant Yoruba version in the bubble. Correct.
Yes. Yeah. I can understand that because the same thing is kind of true in Akure. There's certain, even though we're inside a campus, there's certain lifestyle that some of my cousins lived, even in the same town, Akure, and there's a certain lifestyle that my brother and I lived, even though you're on the but it
is what it is. Partitioning.
There's this little partitioning. Being that my parents were born overseas, they kind of treat you a little bit differently.
Yes,
I saw a lot of similarity in your stories when you say the bubble versus the people in town.